Hello everybody, welcome back, and sorry I've been gone for so long. I actually got two new puppies. I'll throw a picture in here. They're named Clutch and Ruby, after my favorite Cletus car. So yeah, taking care of them is like having two new children. Didn't really put that together before I got them. So yeah, needless to say, I've been taking care of them, and obviously other stuff. And it's been really cold, so I haven't really been motivated to work. But it's pretty warm today. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie, but it's, I don't know, like 60 degrees outside, which is really warm for February. February. So, yeah. But anyway, I've done quite a bit of work before I started filming. So, yeah, go ahead and check it out. Yay. So, I got the motor back in with the transmission attached this time. I fixed my exhaust manifolds. I just had to remount these last two holes so that everything lined up right. Everything seems to be set now. Same thing with the other side. I got the intake manifold is on and torqued down, and as you can see, there's wires. So, you know what the goal is. But, we have something to do first. We need to finish making our oil lines. So, we're going to go ahead and we got our bungs welded on our oil pan last time, so we're going to go ahead and make our return lines for our turbos. And then we're going to work on our intake line, which is going to come from that plate right there. So we're going to have to take that guy off, we're going to have to drill it, we're going to have to tap it, so that we can get our oil feed line in there and get some oil to our turbos. So, but first we're going to go ahead and work on the oil return line. What I need to do is I need to put my turbos back on to my exhaust manifolds, and I need to set them again because the elbows have moved a little bit between taking them off and putting them back on. So I want to make sure that they're right where we need them before we make the oil line so they're long enough. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that. Alright, well that wasn't too bad. I just popped the fenders back on, got them in pretty close. I mean, obviously they might not be exact, but, you know, we can kind of tell where they are because this is where the grill sits. So, got them pretty close. There's going to be a little bit of slack in the lines. So, you know, if they're off a little bit, it's not too big of a deal. The next thing we need to do is we need to clock these turbos. So these turbos have oil feeds and coolant feeds. I'm still deciding whether or not I'm going to hook up the coolant feed. If these were some, like, you know, $1,000 Garrett turbos, I would definitely be hooking up the coolant lines. But you don't really need them. They just keep the turbos a little bit cooler, helps them last a little bit longer. But since these are the crappiest $100 and some eBay turbos that you can buy, and they're probably going to explode the first couple passes down the track, I'm not really too worried about it. But if we do decide to do it, we have these lines right here, which I believe were for the, maybe the heater core. I'm not sure, but those are a coolant in and out. So I'm pretty sure we could use those if we do end up doing the coolant lines. But what we need to do is we need to clock these turbos. So as you can see, you got your holes here. This is actually a coolant hose on top here. There's our oil drain, which I have the adapter for that, so the oil feed is on the other side. So we need to have this oil drain pointing down, pretty much straight down. And then we also need to rotate this, is going to be kind of pointed down too, because once we have our intercooler sitting here in the front, we're going to have an input here and an input here. So they're basically going to be going almost straight down and into our intercooler like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get those clocked, and basically the way you do it is you just loosen these nuts on each side here, and then each assembly will spin, and you can spin the middle. So we'll go ahead and loosen the exhaust side nuts first, and we'll get the center where we want it, and then we'll tighten those up, And then we'll loosen these on this side, and we'll rotate that guy till we have our intake output where we want it. So go ahead and do that next. Alright, so we got those all clocked and pointing down. So as you can see, the filler's on the top, next on the bottom. Next thing we got to do is start putting some fittings on. So I tried to get something that would work that was one piece, but I couldn't. So basically we got this that's going to thread into here, but I don't have any thread sealer right now. I'm going to have to go get some. So, but basically this goes on here, and then come over here. Hopefully you guys can see that. This should go in here. I haven't actually tried to fit these yet, so hopefully they actually work, because the first ones I got wouldn't fit. They were just a different bolt size, bolt pattern. Let's see. Yes, they fit. Let's see if I can get a Allen key. Alright. I'm not going to do these super tight because we're going to have to take them off again. Alright, so there's one. I don't have an aluminum AN wrench, so I was going to wrap some tape around these fittings when I tighten them to try to save the finish. But let's go ahead around to the other side. Get the other one put on. Again, all they are is it's this fitting here, which goes to a pipe thread, NPT. I think it's a 10, or no, half-inch pipe thread. So that's going to thread in there. And then just goes in the bottom of the turbo. Now, the pieces I got for the feed on the turbo are very interesting. So again, being as that these are some weird eBay, Chinese crap turbos, you don't really get much information about them. And one of the things that you want to look for, that you want to make sure you got right on your turbos, is your restrictor in your oil feed line. So when you're doing these oil feed lines, usually what happens is, I don't know if you can see, but there's already a tiny little hole down here. Well, some turbos have built-in restrictors, some don't. I don't know about this one because, again, I don't have any instructions. So I got these very cool pieces. They're around here somewhere. Let me find them. They're made by Vibrant. Let's see here. Where are they? Where are my Vibrant? Oh, they're in here. Okay, so basically, the restrictor hole inside limits the flow of oil to the turbo bearing, which sounds weird, But what'll happen is if you have too much oil flowing to the bearing, it'll just blow out the bearing and oil will start coming out in your intake manifold. So got these pieces, which kind of work like nitrous or fuel jets. So basically this piece is going to screw in, and then they have these tiny little pieces like this, and it's hard to tell, but this little piece with the Allen key has a tiny little hole in it. And then there's two different sizes in here. So what you can do is you can take these pieces, and they act kind of like jets, and you can take this and you can screw it in the end here to get different size oil restrictions. So we're going to go ahead with the medium, the middle one for right now, and we're going to see how that works. If our turbo seems to be starving, or if it gets really hot, hotter than it probably should, then we'll go ahead and just pop them out so that we have the largest size. But we're going to go ahead with the middle one now. So you just take this guy, and it just gets screwed into the end here. Oops. Gets screwed into this end. So then now you have your smaller hole size in there. That's kind of like a little restrictor. So that's those. Now, these got little crush washers that go on them. Hopefully they fit on the turbos, because I haven't tried them. Perfect. There's one feed. There's the next feed. So I'm going to go ahead and get them tightened down. Okay. So we got those put in. Now, next. So we got boxes of fittings and goodies for the oil and the drain lines. Let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to use here. Oh, lordy. So the oil feed isn't really too particular on how you run it, because the oil feed is obviously under pressure. So the force of the oil pressure, assuming you have good oil pressure, is going to force the oil to your turbos and to your bearings. The return line, however, is a gravity line, which means it relies on gravity for the oil to drain out. You need your oil to be able to drain out of your turbos as smooth as possible and without restriction, because if you end up getting backed up in your oil return line, then the oil will blow out your bearings and it will come out your intake and you'll be buying a new turbo. So when we put our bungs in, and I don't know if I talked about this, but you want your bung high enough in your pan so that you're not under your normal oil level, or else obviously you'll be creating a backup. So this is all the way at the top. There's no oil up here. Most that's up here is splashing out of the crankshaft. So, oh, which by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did put a layer of paint on everything. I didn't clean it very well. I don't expect it to last, but my motor mounts were starting to rust. So I went ahead and stuck some paint on them, and everything's black, and it looks pretty. We are going to be redoing all of these suspension bearings and all this crap. We're going to be eliminating the sway bar. We're going to be getting new tie rod ends, new ball joints, new shocks, new pitman arms, or whatever these things are called, new bushings for them and everything. So, yeah, we're going to have to be working on all that anyway. So, but, yeah, let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do with our oil drain lines here. So I got 90s, I got straights, and I got 45s. What's going to work the best? I don't know. All right, so I think that's going to work. Would actually be kind of nice to have two 45s, but I don't have, I mean, I have two 45s, but obviously we need stuff for that side too. I could get two more 45s, but I think this is going to work. I mean, obviously, it's going to have this drop, this 90, and then it's basically just going to be a right into that side there. So yeah, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and get the fittings on the other side. The only other thing we could do is we could put a straight here. But nah, because I think that's going to make it rub this frame rail, which I'm not really, I don't want to happen either. Obviously, we don't want these to be rubbing anything, or else we will end up rubbing through our oil return lines, and then we'll have a mess. Yeah. So we're going to do 45 here. Ooh. Now this one we might have to do something a little different on. I think that works out. I think that's pretty good. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the feed lines. So again, we got to hit here. We got to hit there. I have again, I have fittings for that, straights, 90s, U-bends, all kinds of weird stuff. Look at these. Again, this side's not as critical as far as how we run them because the oil is under pressure. So, you know, doesn't really matter as much. But I do have all of those. And then I also have this T-fitting. So we're going to T this somewhere. Where I'm not sure. What do you guys think? What should we do? So we got to come out of way down there underneath this exhaust manifold. So yeah, do we tee it there and run one along that way and one along this way, or do we tee it somewhere over here and tee it somewhere over here and have one go here and one go there? That is a tough call. Alright, well, I'm going to think about that and figure it out and probably cut some lines, and then we'll go from there. Oh boy, I love it when a plan comes together. So nothing's fully tight yet, but there's our two drain lines. Easy peasy. Radiator / intercooler, something's going to sit right here, so you're probably not even really going to see them. Feed lines. 45's there. I kind of tucked them up high against the fender because I wanted enough room here to do my exhaust. Comes around, it's going to follow the back of the firewall. It's going to tee right there, down to our fitting. It's going to come around this way. And yep, there we go. I thought about it forever on how I was running those feed lines. I ended up doing this way because I wanted to make sure that the oil went out distributed both directions. I was afraid that if I like fed the oil in here and that had an output and an output, that this one would get less oil. So I don't know. It was probably not really necessary, but yeah, so that's what I'm going with. There is going to be some other stuff in this general area. Obviously, there's no brake booster. These are going to be manual brakes, but there will be a steering column sticking out here, and I don't know what else. Maybe just a steering column, and I don't know. But there's going to be some other stuff there, so we might have to move that around, but that's the general idea. We can obviously make new lines. They're pretty easy to make if they don't work out perfect, but yeah, so the only thing I did forget, and I'm pretty upset, is when we take that fitting off, as a matter of fact, let me just go ahead and pop it off real quick. Alright, so here's the piece I'm talking about. As you can see, it's a solid hole in here right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to drill through that and we're going to tap it, and that's where our oil feed is going to come from. You can see it comes from right there where those two holes are. So yeah, I believe that this spot is actually for an oil cooler in some of the trucks. If I'm not mistaken, it's an input and an output for an oil cooler. We might end up running an oil cooler in the future, but for right now I'm not running one. So we're going to tap this, but the problem is I forgot to get a fitting to screw into here that's going to change it over to a 4AN to hook our feed line to. So we might not be able to finish all this oiling stuff today, but we're going to get real close. Well, we are so close. I may have said this a couple times already, but I'm pretty sure the next video, we're going to start this thing with the turbos on and do it. So, yeah, stay tuned. Next video. Pretty good progress today, though. I mean, I've been here probably about 6 hours now. So, yeah, it looks sweet. I'm excited to see it so put together with the wiring on. It's never had the wiring on and been in place and everything like that before. It's never been started inside the truck, as you guys know. I had it started on a tire sitting here on the floor. So that'll be a first. What we're going to do in the next video is finish up the oil feed line. We're going to make some exhaust, at least tack something together. I think we're going to end up just dumping right out the side there. Seems the easiest, most logical. So we're going to go ahead and make some pipes there for the exhaust. And that's about it. I mean, everything electrical is pretty much done. I got the box with the ECU and stuff kind of just chilling in here right now. So obviously that stuff's got to get mounted in here somewhere. Where I don't know exactly, because I still don't know what I'm doing with the whole inside of that truck. We might end up having to redo some of that wiring. Doing the wiring first probably wasn't the best idea. But yeah, I mean, it's getting there. If you guys like the channel, if you want to see this freaking thing rip, which by the way, oh man, it gets me every time I see it. From like this angle, let me move the welder. Let's move the welder. Oh, there we go. From like this angle, just this thing sitting so pretty, and then this beast ass LS twin turbo in here. This thing is gonna be a ripper. Whew, yeah, I can't wait. I'm really hoping that, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys probably watch Cletus too. Cletus bought the racetrack, DeSoto Speedway. First event, November 20th and the 21st. I am hoping to take this truck there and maybe burnout box. I don't know. Maybe just show it off. I don't really know, but I'm hoping to have this thing ready to go. I'm hoping to have it to the drag track in the spring and the summer, but obviously I'm hoping we're going to go rip it at DeSoto Opening Speedway, you know, Burnout Pit first show. So, yeah, I mean, I think it should be pretty sick. And you know what? Honestly, if it's last that long, we'll put it in the burnout box and we'll go till it blows. We'll blow this thing up in the box. It'll be great. So, yeah, stay tuned. Not a whole lot left to do for drivetrain-wise. After we get this all stuff straightened out here, we're probably going to go ahead and pop the bed off and get the rear end in, get the drive shaft made. And then while we're waiting on that, we'll probably start working on brakes and fuel lines. And, yeah, and then we got to do at least a 4-point cage. And we should be ready to rip. So I'm getting pretty pumped. It's February, March, April, May, June. We got about 4 months till I want this thing to be on the drag track at the very latest. So stay tuned. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.